Salutations YouTube, welcome back. It's like I've developed a new pattern now. Tuesdays just seem to be the day. Before I get started on this is a dark and graphic one. It has details of Satanism, rape, obviously it has murder, because it won't be a serial killer show without murder, unless you're eating cornflakes. Get it? Yeah, okay. Anyway, if you've seen my update on my channel, you'll know who this one is about, because it says it there, and it will say in the title. But if you're familiar with true crime and serial killers like me, then you'll instantly know who the Night Stalker is. So without further ado, let's begin. On the night of 28th of June 1984, the mutilated body of the 79-year-old Jenny Vincow was found laying spread-eagled on the bed of her one-bedroom flat in the Eagle Rock district of Los Angeles. She had been raped and her throat had been slashed so savagely that she had almost been decapitated. There was no blood on the walls of the bedroom and bathroom, and her flat had been ransacked. In violent LA, however, it was regarded as just another murder. 9 months later, the killer struck again. Maria Hernandez had just parked her car in her garage in the Rosemead suburb of Los Angeles and was walking towards her flat when she heard footsteps behind her. On turning around, she was confronted by a man holding a gun. Although he aimed the gun at her and pulled the trigger, the bullet miraculously ricocheted off her car keys and dealt her only a glancing blow. Even so, the impact was enough to knock her onto the ground, whereupon the gunman stepped over her, giving her a vicious kick in as he did so, and made his way into her flat. Maria then heard a gunshot from inside the flat and staggered to her feet, only to come face to face with the gunman as he ran from the building. She begged, "Please don't shoot me again," and after freezing momentarily, the gunman took to his heels. Inside the flat, Maria found her boyfriend, the 34-year-old Hawaiian-born traffic manager Dale Okazaki, lying dead on the kitchen floor. He had been shot through the head. There was only one clue to the murder. Maria had told the police that the gunman was wearing a baseball cap which had the AC/DC logo embroidered on the front of it. AC/DC is, in case you didn't know, they're an Australian heavy metal rock band. And at that time they had recently released an album called Highway to Hell, which, not gonna lie, it's an absolute banging album. Highway to Hell, banging song, and that's where the Night Stalker ended up going, on the Highway to Hell. On Highway to Hell there was a track called Night Prowler. Night Prowler was the nom d'assassin, or assassin's name, that Richard Ramirez, the killer responsible for the deaths of Jenny Vincow and Dale Okazaki, preferred, and he therefore became annoyed when the newspapers insisted on calling him the Night Stalker. Despite having killed Okazaki, his lust for blood was still not satisfied that night, and less than an hour later, when he was on his way home, Ramirez pulled the 30-year-old Tsai Lian Yu, who was a Taiwanese law student, from her car and shot her repeatedly. She died before the ambulance arrived. I told you this was a dark one. 10 days later, Ramirez entered the home of Vincent and Maxine Zazara, which was half a mile from the San Gabriel motorway. Maxine was a successful lawyer, while Vincent had just fulfilled his lifetime's ambition to open his own pizzeria. Both of them were shot at point-blank range, and Maxine's naked body was mutilated after her death, Ramirez stabbing her repeatedly, the wounds making a pattern resembling a large ragged T, and also gouging out her eyes. The bodies were found by their son, Peter, when he called in at the house on the following day. On the 14th of May, hey, that's the date today, 1985, Ramirez broke into the home of William and Lily Doe, shooting the 66-year-old William in the head as he lay sleeping. His wife, the 63-year-old Lily, who was laying in bed next to William, was beaten repeatedly around the head until she told the intruder where the valuables were hidden. After that, Ramirez handcuffed her and ransacked the house before returning to rape her. A fortnight later, Carol Kyle was awoken in her Burbank flat by a torch shining into her eyes. A man then pointing a gun at her and dragged her out of bed. Carol's terrified 12-year-old son was handcuffed and locked in a cupboard in the next room before his mother was raped. Despite her ordeal, Carol was surprisingly compassionate towards Ramirez, saying, "You must have had a very unhappy life to have done this to me." Ramirez, however, shrugged off her compassion by saying, "I don't know why I'm letting you live. I've killed people before." He then ransacked the flat looking for valuables. Satisfied with the jewellery that he had found, he finally went away, sparing both Carol and her son's lives. At around the same time, two elderly women, the 83-year-old Mabel Bell and her 80-year-old sister Florence Long, who was an invalid, were attacked in their home in the LA suburb of Monrovia. On the 1st of June 1985, Carlos Venezuela, a gardener who did chores for the sisters, found Florence lying on her bed in a coma. There was a huge wound over her ear and a blood-stained hammer had been left on the dressing table. The barely conscious Mabel was found lying in a pool of her own blood on her bedroom floor. Both women had been beaten with the hammer, as well as having been cut and tortured. There were even signs that Ramirez had tried to rape the older sister, Mabel. The police concluded that the sisters had been attacked 2 days earlier. As on the previous occasions, the culprit had ransacked the house. This time, however, some clues to the attacker's identity were discovered. Along with the hammer, a half-eaten banana was found on the dining table. This is how I know he's a wrong-un. He liked bananas. No one likes bananas. He had also left what was soon to become his trademark, an inverted pentagram, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a five-pointed star that's used in witchcraft, and it's in a circle. One was scrawled in lipstick on Mabel's thigh, while another was drawn on Florence's bedroom wall. Tragically, Mabel died 6 weeks after the attack, but Florence eventually regained consciousness and survived. Now the Night Stalker's onslaught began in earnest. On the night of 27th of June 1985, Ramirez slashed the throat of the 32-year-old Patty Elaine Higgins in her home in Arcadia. The same fate befell Mary Louise Cannon 5 days afterwards. 3 days later, again in Arcadia, Ramirez savagely beat the 16-year-old Whitney Bennett with a crowbar. She survived. On 7th of July, Ramirez once again turned his attention to Monterey Park, which is the same park where he attacked Cy Lian Yu and the Doeys. The 61-year-old Joyce Lucille Nelson being found beaten to death in her home, while the 63-year-old Sophie Dickman, what a name, Dickman, had been raped and robbed in her flat. On 20th of July, Ramirez murdered the 66-year-old Maxon I'm probably going to butcher this name, Needing, spelled K-N-E-I-D-I-N-G, Needing, and his 64-year-old wife, Layla, in their Glendale home before going on to kill the 32-year-old Shana Rong Covenant at his house in Sun Valley. After shooting Shana Rong as he lay asleep in his bed, Ramirez raped and beat up his 29-year-old wife, Somkid. He furthermore forced Somkid to perform oral sex on him and stole $30,000 in cash and jewellery. Fuck me! Before raping her 8-year-old son, also making her swear in Satan's name that she would not cry out. Although the police had long ago concluded that they had a serial killer on their hands, their primary problem was that he followed no set of modus operandi. He killed people with guns, hammers and knives. He raped both children and women, young and old, orally, anally and vaginally. Sometimes he mutilated the bodies after death, sometimes he didn't. Some patterns in the Night Stalker's attacks were nevertheless emerging. The killer stalked quiet suburbs away from the city's main centres of crime, where homeowners were less security conscious. Less security conscious, for instance. He also tended to pick houses that were painted in beige or pastel yellow and that were usually close to a motorway. He made his entry through an opened window or an unlocked door. So this is why you need to keep your doors and windows fucking locked, people. Use your brains. I know it's the 80s, but fuck me, there was common sense back then, surely. Especially if you've got a serial killer at large. Although burglary was clearly one of his motives, he also seemed to enjoy rape and sheer brutality. Pentagrams and other satanic symbols were furthermore commonly left by the killer. On the night of 5th of August 1985, Virginia Peterson, who was a postal worker, was woken by the sound of an intruder. Sitting up in bed, she cried out, "Who are you? What do you want?" Whereupon the burglar laughed and shot her in the face. That's pretty blunt. She only asked you who you were, mate. The bullet entered her cheek just below her eye and exited through the back of her head, which miraculously she survived. Her husband Christopher, who was lying beside her, was woken by the shot and leapt to his wife's defence, which earned him a bullet in the temple. Christopher, however, who worked as a lorry driver, he was a tough bastard runner basically, because he survived. He was a tough guy who it would have taken more than one small caliber bullet to subdue. Hard as fucking nails, mate. Diving out of bed, he chased his attacker. The intruder, who was not prepared for this, panicked and ran. Mate, you've got a gun, why are you running? Fucking pillock. Then again, it is a small caliber bullet. I think if I shot someone and they survived, I think I'd fucking run. Not that I want to shoot anyone. I could never shoot anyone or kill anyone. I don't know what possesses people to do it. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't have it in me. Anyway, like his wife, Christopher Peterson survived the ordeal, although he suffered from partial memory loss thereafter and had to live with a bullet lodged in his brain. For the first time, however, the Night Stalker had been put to flight, although this did not end his violent rampage. 3 days later, he shot a 35-year-old Asian man and beat up and raped his 28-year-old wife. In common with some kid, she was forced to swear by Satan that she would not cry out. But this time, he did not molest the couple's 2 young children, apart from tying up their 3-year-old son, Ames, whatever his name is. By this time, the public state of panic had reached fever pitch in Los Angeles. In the affluent suburbs, locksmiths and burglar alarm outfits were doing a roaring trade, while gun shops quickly sold out of their stock and local residents set up neighbourhood watch committees. It was now that Ramirez took a holiday and travelled north to San Francisco, where on the night of 17th of August 1985, he shot both the 66-year-old Asian accountant Peter Pan, not Peter Pan who you're thinking of. He wasn't living in Neverland, and he certainly wasn't fighting Captain Hook either. And I did some research. Yes, Peter Pan was actually his name. And his 64-year-old wife Barbara. Oh, so it's not Tinkerbell. I'm sorry. Take it seriously. Peter Pan and his I'm sorry, with a name like Peter Pan, I cannot take him seriously. Oh, fucking hell. And his 64-year-old wife Barbara, threw their heads in their home in the suburb of Lake Merced. Before leaving the scene of the crime, Ramirez drew an inverted pentagram in lipstick on the bedroom wall, underneath it writing "Jack the Knife," which I'm sure if you're familiar with Jack the Ripper, it was a clear reference to that, and clearly he wanted some form of recognition for his crimes. At first, the police thought that the Pan's murders were copycat killings, until they discovered that the bullets that had killed the couple matched the small caliber rounds that had been used in the Los Angeles murders. A week later, Ramirez travelled to the small town of Mission Viejo, south of LA, where he shot William Carnes, who was a 29-year-old computer engineer, 3 times in the head before raping his fiancée, Inez Erickson, also 29, twice, and on ordering her to say, "I love Satan." "You know who I am, don't you?" Ramirez taunted. I'm the one they're writing about in the newspapers and on TV." William Carnes survived the shooting, but suffered permanent brain damage. The couple sadly never married. Inez had managed to observe Ramirez's rusty old orange Toyota leaving the house. James Romero III, a sharp-eyed youth, had also noticed the orange Toyota as it cruised the area and had noted down its license plate number. The car would prove to be the vital clue that put an end to the Night Stalker's reign of terror. After the police had circulated a description of it, it was found in a car park in LA's Rampart suburb 2 days later. Forensic scientists use a radical new technique when examining the car. They put a dab of superglue on a saucer and sealed the doors and windows before placing the saucer in the car. The theory being that the fumes from the superglue would react with the moisture contained in any fingerprints in the car and would turn them white. The interior of the car was also scanned using a laser beam, which would be able to pick up any fingerprints on the car, including those that the culprit had tried to wipe off. The scan yielded one fingerprint, which a computer matched to a fingerprint belonging to the 25-year-old Ramirez, who had been arrested on 3 previous occasions in El Paso for marijuana possession. Soon afterwards, Ramirez's photograph was on the front page of every newspaper in California. Ramirez, however, was quite unaware of these developments when he stepped off a Greyhound bus at LA main bus station. Okay, so if you're a serial killer, the first thing you want to do is watch the news or read the papers. That's how you keep track. So he had this coming. He had been in Phoenix, Arizona, where he had obtained some more cocaine, and was now on a high. He had killed 13 people so far and felt good about it. Surely he reasoned he must be Satan's favourite son. On going to a shop to buy a Pepsi. No, you don't buy Pepsi. You buy Cherry Coke or Monster, or maybe even Prime. On going to the shop to buy a Pepsi, he saw his face splashed across the Spanish language paper La Opinión that was lying on the counter by the till. He was also recognised by the cashier, as well as by other customers in the shop, causing him to make a run for it. He heard 2 elderly women saying El Matador, which is the killer in Spanish. Out on the street, someone cried, "It's the Night Stalker," and Ramirez soon heard the wail of police sirens behind him. He knocked on the door, and when Bonnie Navarro opened it, he shouted, "Help me," in Spanish. She slammed the door in his face, however. Ramirez tried to pull a woman from her car in the next street, but some bystanders rushed to her rescue. He then jumped over a fence into the garden where Luis Munoz was cooking a barbecue and was hit with Munoz's tongs. In the next garden, he was prevented from stealing a red 1966 Mustang by the 56-year-old Faustin Pinon, who had been working on the car's transmission and now grabbed him in a headlock. Ramirez broke free, but Jose Burgoyne, who was a 55-year-old construction worker who had heard Pinon's shouts from across the street, picked up a steel rod and hit Ramirez over the head with it. Although Ramirez stumbled away, Burgoyne soon caught up with him and clubbed him to the ground. Deputy Sheriff Andre Ramirez pulled up in his patrol car in the nick of time as far as Ramirez was concerned. He yelled, "Save me," commenting as his namesake handcuffed him. "Thank God you came. I am the one you want. Save me before they kill me." Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, Ricky. You killed someone. Do not be surprised if they want to kill you. Why are you fearing for your life when you've taken many lives? Pillock. Only the arrival of further police patrol cars stopped the angry mob from taking the law into their own hands. And even outside the police station, a crowd soon gathered calling for him to be lynched. I mean, if the police hadn't turned up, they would have killed him on the street anyway. Ramirez showed no contrition for his crimes, explaining to the police, "I love to kill people. I love watching them die. I would shoot them in the head and they would wiggle and squirm all over the place and then just stop. Or I would cut them with a knife and watch their faces turn real white. I love all that blood. I told one lady one time to give me all her money. She said no, so I cut her and pulled her eyes out." In court, he made satanic signs and even appeared with the inverted pentagram scratched into his palm. He told the judge, "You maggots make me sick. Hypocrites, one and all. You don't understand me. You are not expected to. You are not capable of it. I am beyond your experience. I am beyond good and evil." There was something else he said. He's like, "I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells in all of us." Ramirez was found guilty of 63 crimes, fuck me, including 13 murders. He was then sentenced to 12 death penalties. Okay, how does that work out? 12 death penalties and 100 years imprisonment. What is it? Life imprisonment or death? You only need one death penalty, one death sentence. You only need one death penalty for a crime. Don't give them 12. They're not gonna fucking be. It's not like it's not a cat. I mean, he's a bit of a pussy, but it's not a fucking cat where you got 9 lives. When he was on death row, many women wrote to him, sending provocative pictures, pledging undying love, and even proposing marriage. When Ramirez accepted the proposal of Christine Lee, a divorcee, over that of the nude model Kelly Marquez, it made headlines. Christine, a mother of 2, bombarded Ramirez with pin-up style pictures of herself and visited him over 150 times. She was unfazed by the fact that her husband-to-be was a serial killer. She said, "We really love each other and that's all that matters. From the moment I saw him in prison, I knew he was special. I couldn't believe he was the evil monster people were calling him. He's always been sweet and kind to me." He wasn't being sweet and kind to you, he was imagining how your eyes would look like removed from your head. Anyway, he was sentenced to death with a gas chamber. He wasn't officially killed by the state. He died in 2012 or 2013 due to B-cell lymphoma, which is basically cancer. One of his victims' families said that that was too good for him. And that's where I'm going to leave it, because it was a dark tale. I think I might need a beer after all that. Let me know what you guys think of this man. Do you think he was genuinely a Satanist? Do you think he was born evil? Was it nurture? Was it nature? Let me know what you guys think. And also, thank you for the success of the John Wayne Gacy video. I know it's not a lot of views, but 49, 50, it means a lot. Every single view counts and it matters and it means a lot. So thank you very much. I'm aiming to get 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you guys can share this video, share the channel, then I will forever be in your debt. There's 79 of you now, and you all mean the absolute world to me. I love you all. I could not do this without any of you. And yeah, as I said, you all mean the world to me. I'm getting emotional. I'm getting soppy here. Let me know what killer you want me to cover next in the comments. And as for the people commenting, bring back Bobsy, he will be back for a video. We've talked about it. He will come back for a video. We already know which one we already know which killer that we're gonna cover. So he will be back. We just need to figure out a time. So that's a promise. You will see Bobsy again. I hope you guys are subscribed to his channel, by the way, and I hope you're showing him some love, because he's a G. I'm never going to use that I'm never going to use that again. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm rambling now. If you like this video, please give it a like. Apparently it helps me out. I don't know how. Same with subscribing. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.